Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Tunnel Vision, a show brought to you by USCFootball.com. I'm your host, Keely. You're joined by Shotgun Spratling and Ryan Abraham. We have a fun show for you guys today. We have headphones on, so you know what that means. We're taking live calls today, which is so exciting. And we have a new phone number. We have a whole new screening system.
Yeah.
We can take more than one call now. We're big time now, guys.
It's gonna be exciting.
It is exciting. Live calls, you can call us at 512-4-TUNNEL. That's the little numbers on or the letters on your phone. You can figure that out. So you can do that. Chris Trevino is screening right now, so you can call whenever. But today we're going to be talking about Graham Harrell. He actually talked to the media for the first time this past Monday. We'll break that down, the notable things he had to say. Our first real taste of what Graham Harrell will be like at USC. I'll also talk about the spring ball schedule, spring camp. It's just a couple days away. It starts on Tuesday. We're going to be talking about real football pretty soon here, which is exciting. And then some breaking news just happened in the past 10 minutes, I believe. Chris Trevino has a story up already on USCFootball.com if you want to check it out. Keith Belton, or Thump Belton as he goes by, he just took a job at Kansas, I believe, to be their strength and conditioning coach. So no longer will be USC's assistant head coach or strength and conditioning coach. Some said that he would be in line to become USC's next strength and conditioning coach. I know the players really push for that. I believe on Instagram, some of them are sending some sad farewells to him. So some breaking news we'll talk about. We have a lot to talk about today. And of course, we'll be taking your questions. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. So make sure you get your questions in. And of course, if you want to call in, you can do that as well. We got a lot of things going on today, guys. A good show we have planned. What are your thoughts so far about all the news that I just listed off?
Yeah, well, I'm very excited about the show because we do have a new system. The number is 512-4-TUNNEL, so we have a specialty number. Yes, 512 is an Austin area code, but I needed to pick a number that we could have tunnel in there. That was really the only thing available. So 512-4-TUNNEL. We can have, I think, up to 3 people can be on the line at one time, and then you'll get a busy signal, but you won't have to. You can call in and you'll be in a queue, and Chris Trevino will talk to you a little bit before going to the show. He'll put some notes in there, and then Keely can bring you on the show, so it should be fun. The Thump Belton news that Chris Trevino just broke before we went live, just 5 minutes or something before he put the story up there. Thought it was kind of interesting. USC lost Ivan Lewis and one of the other assistant strength coaches to go to Seattle. Thump ended up taking over things, and like Keely said, the players really love him. But they were still down a couple of strength coaches, and you're going into spring football. That's a kind of important role through this winter, heading up into spring football. Now at least Keith is gone, and maybe someone else would be gone too. But there can't be that many bodies left shotgun for them to be running the strength and conditioning program anymore.
And unfortunately, Porter Gustin is training for the combine, so he's not available to be their strength and conditioning coach right now.
Maybe he can call it in from Indianapolis or something.
It's another question of, when's USC going to make it higher? How long are they going to wait around until you're going to go through the whole offseason with no strength and conditioning coach? I mean, that's kind of the question mark right now, because they haven't moved to make that hire. We've heard, that they've talked with some guys and haven't been willing to give as much as some other strength coaches have asked for when they've interviewed for the position. And so it was kind of Thump might end up getting the job because he's he's been the one running the program for them. But Kansas comes in and scoops him up, so USC loses their one of their assistant strength coaches. So now the whole group is just down another guy. So you're starting to wonder, when are they going to make some hires to fill in these spots? Other places probably have twice as many strength coaches as USC.
Yeah.
It seems like places like Alabama and Clemson and places that are really fighting for national championships have a lot more personnel than USC.
Yeah, for sure. That's Les Miles, right? Les Miles at Kansas now. So Les Miles plucks them away.
And instead of USC going and trying to compete with them, they're falling farther behind.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, maybe the reason he left is because Clay Helton has someone else in mind. Maybe he's already been hired. They just haven't announced it. We were on campus. I was on campus Monday. There wasn't any talk about that at all when we got to talk to Graham Harrell, which I guess is one of the other topics we'll talk about. But we'll see. Spring football starts on Tuesday. First, Keely, you might want to put up the graphic that you're talking about.
Yeah, we have the graphic that USC released.
For that, but also the work, if you want, since we were talking about strength and conditioning program, if you want to put up the, I think Thump did some pretty good things. If you look at the picture of Amon-Ra St. Brown and Isaac Taylor Stewart, ITS, ABS and ITS. It's kind of weird to have them next to us. Our muscle-filled physiques.
Look at this split screen comparison.
Yeah. I did work out this morning. I did a spin class at 6 a.m. But yeah, don't look like that at all because I ate some fudge before the show.
I mean, I'm losing weight. I'm down 16 pounds, so
Right.
I'm not quite. I haven't got my physique as these guys yet.
For an undisclosed reason, you're losing weight. Okay. But yeah, so that's cool. But we also need to talk. So yeah, so we'll see what happens with that. I don't know. I mean, it seems like they're having fun. It's strength and conditioning. Like people ask, is that guy good or not? I mean, how can you tell? It's like really hard to tell if someone's really good or not. You see the results in the field. Some of the guys look pretty good. Now, Amon-Ra St. Brown comes, his dad is a, former Mr. Universe or whatever. So that, Porter Gustin was good, but a lot of those guys did, some of them did it on their own. But we also need to talk about spring football. So some differences this year that we have the schedule we can put up on the screen. So another 6-week thing. It starts Tuesday, March 5th. So they go that first week, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Tuesday, Thursday practices at 3:15. Saturday at 10 a.m., I believe.
Yes.
And they're all open to the public, so you can come out and watch. Then they take a week off for spring break. Then they're back at that same routine. I guess the one big difference for us as far as media goes, there was some talk that maybe practices would be closed, but they're open. Now they're actually open to the public. Clay Helton usually available after every single practice. He will not be now. He's only going to be available that first Tuesday from what I'm told, and then on Saturdays. So Saturdays you don't get to talk to offense or defense. It's Tuesday offense, Thursday defense, and then Clay Helton would be Saturday. Now it's Clay Helton only time is going to talk on Saturday. So that's a little different.
And you kind of wonder what prompted that change.
I don't know.
Does Clay Helton, is he just, is he tired of all the media and all the questions being asked, or does he feel like he needs that 12 extra minutes of time in his day? I don't. You kind of wonder what prompted this.
It's I mean, there was a lot of pushback from people I've talked to inside Heritage Hall, inside the McKay Center. They didn't like some of the coverage that was happening because they were 5-7, and sometimes you see that happen. We saw Lane Kiffin close practices off when they crapped the bed after having a great season. Then they went terrible. They kind of closed things off. So I felt like they might put up a few borders. They didn't want to talk. They never let Cliff Kingsbury talk. They reluctantly let Graham Harrell talk. They said because we bugged them so much, asked them so many times. Lynn Swann still won't talk. So I feel like that's sort of like a circling the wagons thing where they're just not going to say much. And this is so Clay Helton doesn't have to speak after every practice. Never seen that. Like even when Lane Kiffin closed practice, he was still speaking after practice. So this is I don't think I've ever seen this covering USC.
It seems like a little bit of a protective type of
Yes.
a move. But the thing is, it's like, and fans get mad at us, but when we talk about Clay Helton, we always say, oh, he's such a nice guy. He's such a personal guy. Why are you going to take away one of Clay's best strengths is relating to the media and relating to fans? Like, if anything,
She's smart.
Put him out there. Put his best strength out there. I don't know why you would become protective, and it comes across as a little defensive. I mean, granted, maybe there's not that many things to talk about in spring after a while, but
Always something's not good.
I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt here. But I mean, it doesn't come off as a great move in my mind.
My question is, do the Saturday pressers now become 30 minutes long to make up?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think Tim Tesla will be there with the last, one more, please. And that, what they usually do after 10 minutes or so or 8 minutes. But yeah, I feel like it is a defensive move. And, I don't think that's to be unexpected when you're talking about a coach that's on the hot seat. I mean, they, half the staff, there was turnover there. Like we talked about, maybe no strength and conditioning coach going into spring football in the middle of like these important workouts and stuff. I can see them sort of being defensive. When you see coaches do this, though, it just seems to be like the wrong reaction because there was a lot of negative. I mean, when you're 5-7 and you have the worst recruiting class this century after having a couple top 5 classes before, because Clay Helton had recruited well. Number 20, like we haven't seen that since we started covering USC. They've just never had a class ranked this low. You want to put out, like Keely said, put out your positives. Cliff Kingsbury was a huge hire. We never got to talk to him. You never got the bump, local press bump of, here's Cliff Kingsbury, and roll him out there, and everyone's like, yeah, it's amazing. And you'd fawn all over him, and people would be happy. People were really happy after the grant. Reluctant USC fans that are really upset that hate Clay Helton and just think he's the worst coach ever. Even some of them were like, hey, this Graham Harrell guy, I kind of like him. It's pretty good. So this is that's like softball, and like Keely said, Clay Helton speaking after practice is like a softball. He does it really well. He answers questions. He's very personable to the media. Nothing bad ever comes from stuff like that. So I don't get it, but you've seen coaches do this over and over.
Yeah, it's not like Lane Kiffin walking away from the press conference type of thing. Like Clay Helton, like even the tough questions, he usually handles pretty well. I mean,
Yeah.
the off the field issues and stuff, he doesn't answer any of them. He defers to the administration and stuff. He handles all that stuff really well. So it is a little surprising there. And I wonder if there's going to be extended times on Saturdays for the situation, because I feel like there's going to be a lot of questions going in on Saturdays now.
Yeah, I think he knew that I like to skip Saturday practices because you can't really interview anyone else but Clay. Now I got to go. It's like, oh, crap.
Besides the whole scrimmage aspect of an open quarterback competition, right?
Well, there's that too. But yeah, so when you get kind of in there's certain days, like during the season, like Thursdays, no one speaks. And I think Clay Helton stopped too, right? Was he? Or maybe it was just Clay Helton.
Him.
It was just Clay. So sometimes on
It
Thursdays.
was pretty much a walkthrough.
Yeah, so I wouldn't go to those anymore. I used to go to every one. It's like you kind of back off a little bit. So some of those Saturday ones where you can't get any interviews outside of Clay Helton, and it's like, but now you kind of have to go because that's the only day we're going to talk to him.
True. I went to all of them, so can't
Yeah.
relate. No, I'm just kidding. But as far, you mentioned this earlier, Ryan, the Graham Harrell press conference on Monday, it seemed like a very positive thing. He seems like a good fit for the program based on what he said. What were your takeaways? I mean, you were there, Ryan, but what were your guys' takeaways from that press conference?
No, I thought it was awesome. I think you needed someone to come in, and I said this before, I don't care if someone comes in and run the wing T, whatever you want to run, come in and bring your own offense, because it was so just gumbo. It just wasn't anything that was defined. This is something that's defined, and it came from Mike Leach's system, which is great. It's different, and Graham Harrell wasn't even really calling it the air raid because he incorporates more run, but it's an offshoot of that. It's some variation of what he learned from Mike Leach. He was up there with Mike Leach for a couple of years, knew he couldn't be the quarterback coach, knew he couldn't be the offensive coordinator. That's what he wanted to be. Got this great opportunity at North Texas with Seth Luttrell, who's another offensive guy. And from day one, and this is what Graham Harrell told us, he was the play caller there. So he had autonomy. He could do what he wanted and was able to run this. And to him, it's more about a philosophy than X's and O's. And I thought that was great. You remember if the Dan Weber, if you ever remember Dan Weber talking about this on some of the podcasts, when we got it was a really good move by Lane Kiffin. He brought all of the media in and he kind of explained how things work behind the scenes, recruiting and all this stuff. And he showed us the play sheet, the Denny's menu, and there was like 3 columns, and these are the plays that we know really well. They run great. These are the ones that we're not really sure of, but we could use them. And then Dan asked, like, what's that last column? He's like, those are the plays we never practice, and we don't know if they're going to work on it. And Dan's like, why are those on there? So this is just a whole list of play. It's not like that with Graham Harrell. It's more of they only do a small amount of things, and they just do it really well. People can come in and watch. They don't care. They're just going to do something very simplified. They don't want the quarterbacks thinking out there. They just want them to react and play, get out there and make plays. So it seems to make so much sense. I think in college, you got to keep things simple. You have such limited time. When he talked about being at Green Bay and having a playbook like this thick and paragraph for every play, and he's like, if you want to pay me more money, I can simplify this whole thing for you. So I think it's a great philosophy. I mean, it's going to be his offense. He comes in and runs it. It's like you hired a consultant that can kick ass at whatever you need. He's the guy that's going to come in and kick ass at what you need, and they needed offense.
Yeah, I think the whole thing where it's a air raid offense, but he's not calling it that because he wants to run the ball. That should, some USC fans should be elated at that.
Yeah.
It's not just throwing the ball 50 times a game. They want to run the ball, but he's going to make it his own, and that's something. One of the first words he said was identity.
Yeah. My God.
One of his first sentences was talking about this is going to be an identity. And USC's been searching for that for a while. So, getting an actual identity on the offensive side, you let the playmakers make plays, and suddenly this offense takes off.
Yeah, he also said putting the players in a place to succeed, and that's something that we on this show and in our podcast are saying, have an identity on offense and put the talented USC players. USC's always going to have talent. Put them in give them a chance to succeed in the way that your scheme works. And in that sense, it's an encouraging move for USC.
100%. And identity, probably, I can't believe I left that out. That, the most important word I heard.
Thanks for leaving something.
Yeah, I know. I just kind of went off on that. It was like, but it's perfect. They needed some sort of offensive identity. They did not have one. And the only regret, we had about 22 minutes with Graham Harrell. We didn't get to talk about the tight end position. We didn't get to talk about the offensive line and what the differences would be there. So we'll be able to talk on Tuesday to him. We'll get more there. But it was a really good. I think it was smart from USC to do it. They probably should have did it 3 weeks ago. But I'm glad that they did. And it was a complete home run. And when you look back, like, we could have been doing that. They could have had a Graham Harrell press conference once a week, and it would have just been all this positive press. So just get people talking again. But I think it's a really good move. For USC fans, they're like, oh, it doesn't matter. Clay Helton's heck. I mean, I think the offense is going to be a lot better. Now, does that put more pressure on the defense? Is the defense going to give up more points? The offense is going to score. Like, I guarantee you the offense is going to score more points. So what happens on special teams, what happens on the defense with this kind of prolific offense going out there, we'll have to wait and see.
And just as a reminder, our call line is 512-488-6635. That's the numbers if you don't want to convert what Ford Tunnel means.
512-4 Tunnel.
Yeah.
Pow, 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 pow.
We actually have a question. You mentioned about how the way that Green Bay was different from what the air raid system is in that sense. Jasper Smith actually had a question. He said, will USC have enough oh, no, wait, that's the wrong question. He essentially said, will it take more than 1 year for USC to understand this scheme and get the hang of it?
Yeah, I don't think so. From talking with, so Graham Harrell talked with someone, he was asked specifically, like, how long did it take you to learn the air raid? And he came in and it's funny, when he came into Texas Tech as a freshman, he ended up redshirting. Lincoln Riley, the head coach of Oklahoma, was a student assistant while he was there. And he was talking to Lincoln Riley because Mike Leach was busy, and he's like, oh, this guy must be the coach or something. He didn't really even know. And he, thought everything. He's like, yeah, I can do this right away. He ended up, redshirting, but I think he hurt his ankle in his second year. But his third year, he ended up starting. And so I think in his mind, it's something that it's not going to take all that long. Now, is it going to be harder for like a JT Daniels or Jack Sears or Matt Fink or whoever to really get going right away? Probably going to be. There's going to be quick reads. You got to be on the same page with some of the wide receivers. A lot of quick hitting stuff. But he wants to make it very simple. So I think if this, if it was some other offense, maybe it would take a little bit longer. But I think they're going to be somewhat up to speed by the time the season rolls around. And then if they're around here for year two, I think it would be even better. But we saw them, the offense progressively get better at North Texas. The athletes at USC are going to be a lot better, but the defenses are going to play too are going to be better. So it's going to be fun to watch. You wanted to see what Chip Kelly could do with better players at UCLA, and he hasn't really recruited better players yet. USC has those better players. You want to see what this kind of offense can do with the better players.
Yeah, and I think that the offense is going to have a chance to explode. I mean, I think that things are going to be simplified enough that they can attack things early, and then they can start adding to it. That I've talked about that ad nauseum. I feel like that there were times last year where the offense would pick and choose things and throw them out there, but then not build on it. You wouldn't take a same look and do something different off of it. You just you throw away that play, basically throw away the same formation and not use it again. Whereas I think you can start with the simple, the basics here, read the defense, find the mismatches type of thing, and then start adding the new wrinkles in as time progresses. I think the fact that he's in here before spring, that gives you a great opportunity to see these quarterbacks, see what they can do in the system, give everyone an opportunity to learn during this spring. And even kind of the way the spring is set up, the fact that you have your spring showcase before the last week of practice, I think that gives you a chance, if you're able with enough bodies, to go out there and, if you go through a full scrimmage there, which who knows if they'll actually be able to do. But if you have something like that, then you can go off that game tape and be like, all right, this is what we got to clean up the last week. And it gives you an opportunity to learn new things, or to really emphasize those things that you've been working on that last week. So I think I think the offense has a chance to really take off, and I think that the spring is going to be really important for them to learn all these things in this new system. But I don't think it'll take that long.
Yeah. It's going to be fun to watch for sure.
We have a question on Facebook from Michael. He says, during his presser, when he was asked, Graham Harrell couldn't pinpoint what went wrong with USC's season offense last season. Are you concerned about that?
It's called he's being nice.
Yeah.
And probably because he's not going through and watching all the game tapes and being like, all right, I see that they didn't do this and I see that they didn't do this. He's probably looking at some of the players and seeing, okay, let me see how their skill set is in this particular game or against this type of defense. But he's not going through and, it's not his job to come in and assess what went wrong last year.
Right.
It's his job to come in and figure out what will go right this year.
Yeah. And Michael, he just got hired. You don't want to come in and like, if you're a consultant for some company, you come in and you're like, you're obviously there because there's a deficiency of what's going on. But if you came in and publicly stated like, here's how they screwed up this, and this, like, it's not going to go over that well. So yeah, I'm sure when he was watching film, he was probably looking, there's probably some weird looks in his eyes like, what the heck are they doing here? Why would they do that? But he's not going to tell us. So no concern there, Michael.
Yeah, you don't want to burn bridges
Yeah.
when you first get there. Lou Zer on YouTube says, the air raid's pace requires the athletes to run it to be in tip-top shape. Isn't USC royally screwed since we don't have a strength and conditioning coach currently?
What, did you see that picture?
Shall we put it back up?
Yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown and Isaac Taylor Stewart. There's some guys that are in tip-top shape. We heard that
namely me.
Yeah, the field. I think the field work was better. Yeah, I don't think that's going to be all that much of a concern. So we'll see. I mean, we don't know what's going on with the whole strength program, but I don't think just missing some workouts or whatever in February is going to have a huge impact in the fall.
Linda on Facebook says, yeah, we're talking about the offense, but what about the defense and working on discipline and reducing penalties? Anything on those things?
I mean, that's what Clay Helton said, that's going to be his focus.
Yeah.
He's not going to worry about the offense this spring. He's not going to worry about the defense. He's going to check in with them as a head coach, but his focus is going to be on the turnovers and the penalties.
Yeah.
Those are two things he's going to focus on. So discipline and technique are two things he is going to be emphasizing himself throughout the spring practice and probably in the fall as well. So we'll see how that actually plays out. How do you focus on, technique and fundamentals exactly? If you're a roaming coach, we'll see exactly what he means by that when we see a couple of the first practices.
Yeah.
So we have a question from Louise on YouTube. He says, is Clay Helton going to run the same practice pace or is he going to change this year? If we don't change the soft practices that they've been having, it does not matter.
Yeah, I think for Graham Harrell, if you're going to practice his offense, it's going to be at his pace. So I think he's got to have a lot of control over what at least the offense is going to be doing. So I think that's going to be that's one of the things we want to watch. Like how different does practice look? We're anticipating it's going to look a lot different because you don't want Graham Harrell coming in running a system and you're like, well, here's the drills that we do. Like it really can't work that way. So we'll find out on Tuesday for sure, or at least the way we're going to look at things. But my guess is it's going to look a lot different.
And it's not necessarily pace that matters. I mean, the pace may change. You may run more plays. The soft practice is the concern. Are you going to tackle more? Are you going to hit more? Those are things we haven't seen the last few years, and you've seen USC struggle with tackling and struggle with being physical in the trenches. Does that change or not? Because you can go with a higher tempo and not change being a soft team, which is what other teams have yelled at USC from the sideline. So that's not us calling them that, but that's what at the Arizona State game, they were yelling from the sideline. You guys are soft. There were a lot of other curse words in the middle of there, but yelling at the team, telling them they were soft. And that was coming from not just the players on that team, but some of the coaches, support staff, whatever you want to call them, guys in polo shirts. I don't know if everybody had a headset on or not, but it was guys on that staff that were yelling that at the players on the field, which tells you the overarching, view of USC in the Pac-12 right now.
Yeah. Hey, before we jump into more questions,
yes.
How was it with Bruce last week? Did you guys have a good time? I saw people on
such an upgrade. I don't know how we ended up with you back this week.
Right.
I saw some of the comments on YouTube where people are like, Ryan's.
Yeah,
where's
Tyrone
Ryan?
on YouTube says Hollywood Ryan is back in the nest after attending a Laker game with celebrities.
That's the last game that the Lakers won. Is the game I was at.
Wow.
They beat Houston.
Fun fact: Sam Darnold was at the game too. The USC connection is strong.
Yeah. We went to Yard House before, and it was great. We had a good time. So I'm glad you guys had some fun, and Bruce stayed for a while. You guys kept him a little longer and everything.
No,
so.
he ran out after we finished.
There were
so I feel
some
a
there were
little
some
bad
people
about that.
critical of Bruce because he's just kind of like, he's kind of a chill dude, and I don't know if they just wanted more energy. Like, dude, the guy's spewing awesome information. Like, just take it.
Just handle it.
Yeah, it was really fun learning, maybe looking at national programs, programs that are succeeding right now versus USC at this current juncture, and seeing the deficiencies that USC has and the differences there as far as support staff and some of the investment that's been made by some of these other programs.
Yeah, we'll continue to try to get guests and stuff too. So, and we definitely, I know I keep saying the background. I've sent the design work to the guy. So, hopefully, within the next couple of weeks, we're going to have that we have
selling it until we get it.
Yeah.
Just
the new phone system. We're gonna make some more change. We got
undersell and over deliver, right?
Yeah, we got all that camera angles. If Keely ever wants to use them, it's just
Boom,
busy.
there's shotgun right now talking. We have a question on Facebook from Patrick. He says, any chance EA and Tuliaupupu Solomon get on the field at the same time, or do we once again get in the rut of Pendergast not having the best players on the field?
Who's to say that those two guys are the best players? Who are you saying is not? You're saying that Solomon Tuliaupupu, someone who's not played at all, is better than a 3-year starter in John Houston. That's the inference you're making there. And I think that's hard to say that that's true. Now, if Solomon Tuliaupupu comes in and sets the world on fire, yeah, that's a possibility. Palaie Naitiote didn't play in the UCLA game because he hadn't practiced there. That was the big difference. He played the outside spot, the Sam spot, for the Washington State game. They moved him in there and they put him at that spot with Porter Gustin out, and it kind of moved things around there. So if he comes in and plays really well, I think you might even see him move to a different spot, or EA, because EA can play on the outside as well. I think you might see both of those guys in there with John Houston at the same time, because they like John Houston in there. He's a veteran presence for him. He's going to be a guy that can call the defenses, help Palaie out in that spot. So I think that's a strong inference to make there. Just going ahead and saying, well, this freshman who has never played is automatically going to be better than a guy who started for 3 years.
Yeah, I agree.
Paul says, who's bigger, EA or Tuli?
Who's bigger?
Yeah.
Tuliaupupu, I think.
Yeah.
He's taller.
Apparently, though, Solomon has been going insane in the weight room this offseason.
That's what Justin Dedich said.
Yep.
Okay. So we'll go with
he's a little bit taller, and I think that he will be carrying a little bit more weight than.
There's EA has this thickness to him though. Yeah. I don't. So we'll see. We'd have to put him on a scale.
You kind of have to compare. I always thought that Solomon was a little bit smaller, thinner.
I think he was a little leaner and stuff, but if he put on more, but there's definitely more of a there's just more girth, I think, to EA. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yep. I think you can put them side by side.
Their body types are different. Yeah.
So we've gotten a lot of questions about strength and conditioning. LDR on YouTube specifically
He insists. This is the third time he said it.
He's very passionate that he thinks you're avoiding strength and conditioning questions, Ryan.
Yes, LDR. I'm avoiding you. Just kidding.
So, how does USC go forward if they're losing their assistant strength and conditioning coach when you're losing so many guys that make up the core of training your team?
It's the same thing. Okay, look what happens when USC lost 5 assistant coaches. The support staff moves up, and then they are on the road doing. So you got Gavin Morris and guys like that doing things. So when Ivan Lewis and I forget who the other guy that left with him went to Seattle, Keith Belton, Thump, steps up and he takes over, and there's guys kind of moving up in that spot. It's unfortunate that you lose the guy that took over for the guy that left, but I think it's just sort of a moving up thing. Now, what's the risk there? Yeah, you got people that were assistants moving up into more prominent roles, and that's part of the problem with when USC lost those assistant coaches. That's what they were doing. Clay Helton promoted some of those guys, after when he got permanently hired in the very beginning. So I think if you look for a couple of weeks. Yeah, it'd be nice to have the guy who's been running the program, but they set it up already, and a lot of that work is done ahead of time. So they just need to get someone to come in. I don't think it matters until spring football starts, because now you're talking about practices and things. You need somebody in there to implement their own system, starting as soon as possible. But the last week or so heading up the spring football, I think you're just kind of continuing the plan that was already in place. You can't do that throughout the summer. They can't just go without a strength coach. So it's not like it's the end of the world. Everyone gets fat because the strength coach left today. But the plan was in place. But I think you would like someone there during spring football, especially someone to implement their own thing. I don't think you were going to implement somebody's new system a week ago or today. You do that either at the beginning or the end of spring football.
I think you come in and start implementing as soon as they get here. But I think you're going to have to go back to some of the candidates you looked at and maybe that you didn't give them what all you wanted to offer that they offered. Maybe you go back and you up the ante a little bit because you got to go out there and get somebody good. That's been one of the biggest things is the culture in the weight room, the culture of the guys just not being, you look at the combine numbers or the guys coming back for pro day and stuff, and their body types are much different. So if that body type is good for them at the next level, why is it not good for them at USC? And what are you not figuring out there? I think that you need some new blood in there potentially. And, Thump Belton was a guy who was super energetic. Ivan Lewis is pretty calm. He can yell and stuff during practice when he's doing the stretches and stuff, but he's pretty calm on the sidelines. Thump Belton, the pitcher that leads our site right now, is him lifting up Velus Jones after Velus Jones had a catch down to the goal line after making a big play. So that's the type of guy he was. I think you need somebody that brings some more energy in because sometimes you talk about Pete Carroll, and Pete Carroll's a super energetic guy, but he had guys that were the hard-nosed coach. You have to balance your staff, and the strength and conditioning coaches are part of that. Either find somebody that's going to be that hard-nosed guy that get after guys all the time, find somebody with energy, find that mix so that you can offset the Clay Helton, where Clay Helton is, a laid-back guy, and he'll get really mad at times, but, he's more of a laid-back coach. So find someone that has a little bit different personality. USC needs to go out, and this is an important hire.
Yeah.
It's not going to get the same attention as Graham Harrell or Cliff Kingsbury or any of the other moves they made, even some of the position coaches, but it might be the most important hire of the season because it's the 9 months of the year where they're not in season. It's the thing. It's why that Scott Cochran makes so much money at Alabama. He makes over $1 million to tell people to lift weights.
Stanford just lost theirs. They don't call it strength and conditioning coach. They call it some weird, crazy name. But he was put on administrative leave, and I believe he's going to be out. And he was someone that the recruits would talk about. So it could be a huge asset to your program. So who was it? DLS? What was it? LDR?
LDR.
Yeah, not de-emphasizing the importance of it, but it's just they need to get somebody in place. But they didn't, because you lose Thump Belton, today or whatever, it doesn't mean the end of the world. But you need to get someone. It's an important hire, like Shotgun said, because you're with these guys all the time.
That whole Stanford situation was really weird too.
Yeah.
Administrative leave, so who knows what's going on there. And to answer previously, we've got some comments on that EA is thick with 2 C's. That's the best way to describe it.
Do we not have any phone calls? Are people not calling?
Before Shotgun, I'm about to transition, Ryan. We do have someone on the line.
Can I do a Periscope thing real quick? Or
do
no?
it,
Okay,
Ryan.
hold on. So we have it's who's a better quarterback in college? Sark T, Tuiasosopo, Harrell, or Cliff?
Give me T. Martin, who won a national championship.
He did win a national championship, but Graham Harrell has all kinds of NCAA records too, so I don't know. But
he was in a good system
Yeah.
with Mike Leach.
he was. T. Martin followed Peyton Manning and won a national championship. So yeah, I'll go with T. That's fine.
True.
Tuiasosopo was really good too. He actually was the leader on that.
He
team.
was, yeah. Cool. Thanks for that
Good.
question.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Chris says Natty always wins, so
That's what I go
Nice.
with.
there
Yeah.
you have it. Okay, we have a live caller. I believe we're testing out our new system.
This is the new system, so hopefully this works.
Brandon from Wisconsin. Are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
Yay! Hi, Brandon. How are you doing today?
Cold in Wisconsin, but hanging in there.
Well, good job. Good job for hanging in the cold weather. What's your question for us today?
So out of the quarterbacks that we have, which one fits Graham Harrell's offensive scheme the best?
Brent, that's a good question. All the way from Wisconsin. Just real quick, are you I'm going to guess you're a Jack Sears fan, no?
No, I do like JT Daniels.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
I followed him in his high school, so.
Okay. A lot of people, they're asking that because they want to figure out a way to get Jack Sears on the field. So that's kind of the typical question we get. I think when Graham Harrell talked about it, I feel like there's, he can adapt things to whoever the quarterback is. It'll be a little bit different if Matt Fink or Jack Sears wins it versus JT Daniels. But I think JT Daniels has, a lot of talent. People are blaming him for how bad the offense was. Like the offense was bad. Like, I don't care. You needed like a Sam Darnold to kind of fix things. So I think both of them could, both Jack Sears and JT Daniels could work out in this offense. My gut is that JT Daniels is going to win the job. He's practiced better than those two guys. maybe Jack Sears just excels in this system. Maybe those guys didn't really excel in the gumbo kind of thing that they were running. That would, if that happens, more power to Jack Sears. I think he can capably run this offense. But my guess is it's going to be JT Daniels. I don't know what you think, Shotgun.
I think JT Daniels is a more precision-based passer than Jack Sears. Jack Sears is more creative, more Sam Darnold than Matt Barkley, say.
Yep.
And JT was so terrible this year that he had pretty much the same stats as Matt Barkley did his freshman year.
Yeah.
So everyone just kind of dismisses
really?
that. Yes, he had very similar stats to Matt Barkley. So, and I think this is the type of system that he fits in best. He can get the ball out quickly. If you watched his modern day, that was the thing I've said several times that was most impressive to me was he was at the line changing plays. All right, you're going to run this route. He was reading one or two defenders, making quick, crisp passes, throwing to guys like Brew McCoy and Amon-Ra St. Brown, Osiris St. Brown. It was a great group of receivers to throw to, but he was the guy putting them in place a lot of the times. So that tells me that he has the intellect to be able to move guys around, to be able to go through a precision passing style of offense like this air raid can be. And I think that his skill set will play up in this, where they're not going to ask him to go through a 5 read set,
right,
where he's going to do a 7-step drop. It's going to be quick reads. Okay, go here, read this one. Whereas Jack Sears, I think he thrives when it's okay, go through 3 reads, and if it breaks down, run, which is what they told Johnny Manziel and Kyler Murray in those similar type situations. So I think he can excel in this too, where he can use his legs if things are not there. But I just think JT Daniels, I think his skill set plays up in this. And I think he has a better skill set than the other guys.
And I think his football IQ, is really high.
What about Fink, though?
Fink's. I think that both Fink and Sears got better. I think he's a lot similar to like a Jack Sears and stuff. Just not as much arm talent, I think, as Jack Sears. But I think when we talked to Graham Harrell on Monday, it sounds like the quarterbacks are going to have a lot of freedom to kind of change plays and do things. And I think when you look at a JT Daniels, I think he's done that a lot. I think his football IQ is through the roof. I think he's going to really excel. And when you get out there and you see something different from the defense, switch to something else I think that's going to be his creativity. Maybe not as, making something happen out of the pocket, but just addressing things at the line of scrimmage. So that's still my guy. I think he's going to do it, but we'll see. It's going to be fun to watch all these quarterbacks try to run this system in the spring.
Agree. Well, thanks,
May
Brandon.
I add one person in there?
Oh, sure.
What about Bryce Young next year?
We're going to have to wait till we get through this season and see if they're still the same coaching staff before you fit in Bryce Young, because it's hard to project guys, because if Graham Harrell and this offense explode, who's to say he doesn't become the coach at North Texas if Seth Luttrell takes a bigger job?
Yeah.
Or, who's to say he's not? It's very tough to project that far in advance, or even to say that Bryce Young finally does sign. You expect him to, but you also expect Brew McCoy to be on campus right now as well. Yeah. Silent tear.
Silent tear.
But thanks for the call and trying out our new system. Hopefully your time in the queue was pleasurable.
Alrighty. Thanks, Brandon, for that. Okay. I'm still trying to figure this all out. Shotgun, are there any YouTube questions that you can
Sure.
think of?
Eden asks, who's going to start at the predator position with Porter Gustin gone? We need a pass rush ASAP. So there was a big difference with Porter Gustin and without Porter Gustin. Obviously. I think that the pass rush is going to be better this year than it was last year. Even without Porter Gustin, because Porter Gustin was hurt so much. I think Christian Rector is going to have a bounce back year. He's going to get those sacks that he was very close on last year. I think he's the guy that's going to be coming off the edge. But I also think that group of young guys, one of the guys is going to pop out. I'm not sure who it is yet. It could be Hunter Echols. It could be Kanai Mauga. It could be Abdul Malik McClain or Elijah Winston. I think all those guys have a lot of talent, have a lot of potential. So who's going to be the guy that knows their assignment, can hold the edge, and be the guy that can play against run as well, and then earn extra playing time and be able to get in there and get after the quarterback as well. I think that's going to be a big thing. I think all those guys are capable of getting the backfield, but they've got to be able to stop the run first if they want to get Clancy's trust to be able to take over that spot. So, that's one of the positions I'm really interested in watching this spring as well.
That for sure. I mean, like in the secondary, you got to replace some veterans. But there's just not that many options, so it's not
Yep.
really that interesting. Like that's more interesting because there's a lot of people that could come in and fill that spot.
Yeah, the defensive line has if you want to include those guys in the defensive line, there's a lot of talent returning on the pass rush and the run stop units up front. USC returns I think 8 or 9 defensive linemen, and then you add in those outside linebackers as well.
Another place that I'm going to definitely watch for during spring is the offensive line. We've gotten a lot of questions about some of the battles there. Who do you expect to one battle and who and two win it out as far as the tackle position, guards, and center? It's pretty much everything's up for grabs at this point. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, where would you go? So like Austin Jackson. So if you go, you want to
Austin
go
Jackson's the mainstay. He's going to be at left tackle,
left or right, left guard,
replacing Chris Brown.
So Elijah Vera Tucker, or
I think Elijah Vera Tucker flips over the left side. I think that's a dynamic left side if you put him and Austin Jackson side by side. That's an AA offensive line.
Yeah.
Now, does that mean Austin and Elijah, or does that mean All-American? That could be up to determine on how well the offense does.
when you go to center, is it going to be Justin Dietich? Is it going to be
Brett Nealon?
And if one of those guys doesn't win it, are they good enough to win one of the guard spots too? I think it's going to be hard to beat out Elijah Vera Tucker or Voorhees at right guard, but one of the guard spots, I mean. So, but I don't know. I'm kind of guessing Nealon's going to win there, but we'll see. I like them both.
I would think that you would try to dual train Nealon because he's a bigger guy, so he could play that guard spot. I think you double train him. If you have an injury with Elijah Vera Tucker or Andrew Voorhees, I think he's the guy that fills in there first. Now, there's a question about, is there anybody ready to step up into that group? Because we really got 6 guys that are battling right now. 6 guys that have any experience, really. Because Frank Martin has not played a snap on offense. You've got Jalen McKenzie on the other side. He's the appears to be the next guy in line at right tackle. So if he's there, we've mentioned all the other guys. You basically got Dietich and Nealon at the center spot. And if you decide, all right, if I have an injury there, or even Andrew Voorhees or Elijah Vera Tucker's not getting the job done, I can move Nealon to guard because he played some guard in high school before moving to center. And USC wanted him to play center. He played center his senior year, I believe. I believe he played guard his sophomore and junior years. So he has some experience there. He has the size more than Dietich. Dietich is pretty small. So he's a guy I think is probably pigeonholed into center because of his height and just because of who he is. Now, he has the tenacity that I think you could play him anywhere. You could play him at left tackle if you wanted to because he's mean enough, but he doesn't have the body type. He doesn't have the long arms that you want at that position. He doesn't have the height and different things like that. I think he's likely stuck in that center spot, but if he's good enough, I think you can move Nealon as well.
And I wonder if Graham Harrell is going to have any input on this, especially at the center spot. Like, would he have tolerated some of the bad snaps that were going on last year, or would he have said, no, we're switching that out? I'm curious to see what kind of impact and how different it's going to be. I think there's going to be a lot of zone blocking, like you saw with the USC offensive line last year, but the splits are going to be wider. Like I'm not sure how much the technique's going to change, and if that opens things up for some guys that we haven't seen before. It's another one of those things you really want to watch this spring.
Yeah, and I talked about this on our first of our 3 spring preview Family Feud podcasts. Keely and I talked
Took
about
a while to get that first plug in there, by the way.
We got it in.
Well done, Chuck.
What exactly is the air raid offense? What kind of things stand out in the air raid offense? What's different? Well, in Mike Leach's version of the air raid offense, he likes big roadblock offensive linemen. He likes guys that are 6'6", 6'8", 6'10", if he can get them, that are just in the way. They don't have to be the greatest blockers, but just long enough and big enough that they're hard to get around because he's going to have quick passes. He's going to get the ball out, so you're not going to be able to get around this guy. He's got these long arms. He's not like the greatest technician, but he's big, and he's just a big ogre in the way. He's a roadblock, basically. So I want to see what Graham Harrell is looking for in his offensive lineman. So as USC progresses in their recruiting, if he's still here a year or 2 down the line, are they recruiting a different types of linemen? Are you still going after those guys at the high end of the recruiting rankings and stuff? Or are you looking for specific types of linemen that maybe fit in better in that air raid type of offense?
In that sense, about the offensive line, we have a question from Ryan Wooten, who says, does the current group of O-linemen provide us with enough solid 2-deep unit to keep this offense firing on all cylinders? You kind of touched on it a little bit.
I don't think the 2 deep is great right now.
No, it's definitely, this is a less talented offensive line than we've seen the last several years. It's not as deep as what we've seen the last several years. I think there's 14 guys on scholarship. I think that's part of the reason why they're still looking at the transfer portal. Last we heard to maybe bring in an offensive lineman. So I think you're going to see the coaching is going to be better, but it's not going to be as talented as a group as I think we've seen the last couple of years.
Now, a couple wild cards here.
Okay.
Clayton Bradley, does he come back from the back injury? Is he in the mix at that tackle spot? Because he kind of got, he got passed over.
Yeah.
Now, was it just a back injury, or was it, they just weren't liking his playing style? New coach with Tim Drevno, being there, so maybe he can impress him. Jacob Daniel, we haven't seen him play offensive line much. No. Can he be a guy that gets in the rotation at one of those guard spots? That's a possibility. And then Bernard Shermer, the JUCO transfer, came in, played a couple games last year. He had an injury as well. Is he ready to be in that mix in the tackle spot? Because I think the right tackle spot's wide open. And I mentioned Jalen McKenzie because he's the guy that was in there at the end of the season. But who wasn't in there? Clayton Bradley or Bernard Shermer, and both those guys had injuries. Are they ready to, they could be the guys to take over. I mean, Bradley is your oldest guy on the line. He's the guy that has been waiting his turn. Now's his opportunity. Can he seize it?
Yeah. I think the last couple of years, if you saw guys get injured, you felt pretty good with some of the 6, 7, 8, 9 guys. I'm not sure you do. And it's not like they can't be, but we haven't seen them really do very much.
No experience.
So, yeah.
We have a question from Mike Connolly who says, I'm going to stay positive. What excites you most about the upcoming season?
Graham Harrell, 100%.
The Memphis Grizzlies point guard, Mike Conley. We're talking about the Grizzlies season.
No, for me, it's just because you knew this was a talented offense. They got a lot of guys coming back. The receiver core is great. You like the running backs a lot. We'll see what they do with the offensive line. I know they've squandered some opportunities with some better talent before. And, I love the way JT Daniels, the potential he has. So I think the offense they should not have been 90th in the country in scoring last year. So it should be not just more productive, but a lot more fun to watch. And I think if it's a fun offense, you don't go 20 minutes of real time or 30 minutes of real time, not even sniffing the end zone like you were doing last year, like a quarter and a half that would happen all the time. I don't think you're going to see that at all this year. Certainly not as much. So that's what I would be the most optimistic about.
Yeah, I think I said it on a different show, but I don't think you're going to have those long stretches. So I think that helps the defense as well because, you may have 8 offensive drives and you score on 2 of them. Well, USC would score on the first one and have 6 in the middle where they didn't do anything and score on the 8th one right before halftime or something. And the defense is just on the field that entire 15 or 20 or 30-minute period in between. There'd be a long stretch between the middle of the first quarter, like the middle of the fourth quarter before something would change. And you have all these drives where they're just basically going right back out there over and over. Yeah. I think the defense, even if you go at a quicker tempo this year, is going to get a little bit more rest than previously.
Yeah.
Sorry, we had a call on the line, but they dropped out. Looking at you, Jasper Smith.
Did Jasper call in and drop out?
He called in and then dropped out. I don't know. It wasn't me. It might have happened in this new system, but just letting you know.
Are we having any technical issues? Or
I don't think so.
Okay.
Chris and I were trying
to. He says he lost his connection. Guys.
Okay, that happens. Yeah, Chris and I were trying to work on it behind the scenes. Someone asked on Facebook, who do you think is going to have the biggest impact, the offense or defense in the fall? What do you mean by impact is my question.
The offense, because it's going to be different.
Yeah. It's just going to be something that you haven't seen before. And it could, it could be it's better, but it's not that great. But I'm guessing it's going to be really different and really dynamic and really fun to watch and really productive. That's my guess right now. So I think that's what's going to be the defense is going to be pretty similar. You're replacing a lot of veteran guys. We'll see kind of what happens there. But yeah, I think offensively, this is what's going to make this team go again. It's just going to be you bring in someone competent to do a very specific job. You have a lot of talent to do that job well, and the manager of the offense, Graham Harrell, is going to take them and do some great things.
I think. Sorry,
I think the impact is maybe it's like Tenant Troy impact style, where it's the thing that's being talked about most. I think it's the offense again because. The offense last year in fall camp was what was talked about most. It was making more of an impact, because it was like, JT Daniel, Amon-Ra St. Brown, that connection, that's crazy. Whereas the defense was just kind of consistent, slow and steady. It was a bunch of guys that you knew. Now there's going to be some battles on that defensive side. They're going to be interesting to watch. But I think definitely the offense is going to be what you're talking about more. What's more impactful?
Yeah,
in that
I would agree.
regard.
DJ Love on YouTube says, should USC fans be concerned about wide receiver depth? This is something that I found out when we were doing the podcast rundown. In spring, USC only has 5 wide receivers, scholarship wide receivers on the team, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, I think the depth isn't great, but that's really good. Like everyone that's out there is a player, you know. So I think by the fall the depth will be okay. But for spring, I don't think you have to worry about it too much. But the guys they got out there, I think a lot of teams would love to have them. But yeah, not certainly with the guys entering the transfer portal, those were that was kind of like the backups that you really wanted to have around it. Had like a spark and they could do something special. Now you just don't have those guys. You will in the fall, but just not now.
The concern is you get 2 injuries, you can't go with the full spread offense.
True. Yeah.
I mean, now guys like Matthew Holcomb or one of the other walk-ons can jump in there, but
you're going to incorporate more of the tight ends probably at that point too, where
but you're not going to be able to. This spring is all about implementing the new offense. You want to be able to run all your stuff, with the guys that are going to be in there during the fall. So without injuries, no, it's not a big issue, but there's always injuries in football. So.
Yeah. Well, you don't have a lot of receivers. You don't have a lot of defensive backs.
And you're not adding a lot of receivers in the fall. I mean, Kyle Ford comes in. Is he going to be able to practice? Probably not.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah.
Tyrone says,
don't have Puka Nacua anymore. Don't have Brew McCoy anymore. Munir McClain, he's back. You have him. Drake London. I think you're adding a couple bodies, but I mean, with those 2 guys, you have 7 guys in the fall.
Yeah.
Sorry. Tyrone says, sorry, I just lost this question. What's the update with Daniel Imadabebe, if there is any?
Nothing new. I mean, the last we heard was from Clay Helton that he was working out, but still working out on his own rather than with the team.
Yeah, we had put a little stuff in the war room, and you're hearing some stuff out there. I think we'll get a better feel for this on Tuesday. It's just there's been some speculation and stuff. That'll be a Tuesday thing.
Yeah, we'll have a full injury report. You can definitely see who's going to be healthy and whatnot, especially when you're talking about the DBs, who's actually going to be ready for contact.
We're not going to get the daily injury reports from Clay Helton either. That's going to be kind of strange.
I just feel like because Clay was kind of the cap to practice, like you kind of had your roaming around interviewing session, and then everyone kind of huddled in for Clay. It's kind of just like when it's done, it's done. It's kind of odd, right?
Yeah,
I don't
very
know.
strange.
BJ Slides says, how much will USC run the ball next year with the new air raid offense?
They will run the ball.
Graham Harrell said that's one of the things of his offense that's different than a Mike Leach air raid offense.
Yeah, I think he was really excited when asked about the running backs. Vavai Malapei, he just seemed to just beam over. I mean, knowing a guy I think Stephen Carr has the potential to be the breakout stud for the offense because of what he can do out of the backfield and just throwing him little swing passes and getting him into different pass patterns downfield. I mean, he could be special as long as he's got that spring in his step again. If he's got that explosiveness that we just kind of didn't see as much of last year, if he's fully healthy and stuff this year, I think he can be an integral part of this. And a guy like Marquise Stepp is going to be a little change of pace as far as being a bigger back. I think they all have different roles, but he seemed really excited about the group of running backs.
And Josh Hellman noted earlier on YouTube that Stephen Carr benefits big from Harrell. He sees his draft stock go way up with his receiving and rushing yards.
Yeah.
Quite possible.
Good point. John Laub on Facebook says, living in Utah, I can only attend 1 game at the Coliseum each year. Which game would you guys recommend for me to see this year?
Ooh. Okay, so wait. Notre Dame's on the road.
I don't know who's at home.
USC football schedule.
I would go probably. I think Oregon's at home, right? Is Oregon at home? I think that would be the one.
Oregon's at home. Washington's on the road. Is that right?
I think Washington's on the road. Fresno State will be fun. It'll be the opener. It'll be the first game in the renovated Coliseum. There's probably going to be 20,000 Bulldog fans coming down from the Central Valley for that one. But the opener might be interesting for that. I think the Oregon game is
So the home games are Fresno State, Stanford, Utah, Arizona, and Oregon, and UCLA.
I'm going to Oregon.
Yeah, Oregon would be good. Or even a Fresno
You haven't played
State.
Oregon in 3 years. So.
Yeah.
And you got a potential 1-1 pick in Justin Herbert. I'm
True.
coming to see that game if I have one game.
It's what you want to get out of a game. If you want the rivalry type deal, UCLA maybe. I don't know.
I mean, that one's always fun.
Plus, you get Kayvon Thibodeau if he's playing. That would be
true.
kind of cool to check out for Oregon.
Utah's always fun. I feel like something always happens in
Oh yeah,
the Utah game.
no, there's good. I mean,
Those games are always close.
Yeah,
until
that's
last year.
good football right there.
right. And it depends if you want to get it out of the way early, or like
True.
by the Oregon game, like it could be a mess, or it could be like really good. Like you're taking a risk if you
But
wait.
he's from Utah, so maybe don't see Utah. You could always see Utah. I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe plan it when you are sick of the Utah weather. How about that?
Yeah.
That's my suggestion.
I think the less risky play would be to come see Fresno State. Not that you could lose. I'm not saying you can't lose, but at least there'll be optimism. It's like it's gonna be the opener. But if you wait till Oregon and like the team is in the dumps, then like you're gonna go into the game and everyone's in the dumps. So at least there'll be excitement going into the Fresno State game, no matter what happens.
I mean, you can come see Stanford, but you don't get to see many plays. So
Yeah.
I usually
Don't
would
come to
skip
the
that.
Stanford game. That's my advice.
When Stanford's early in the season, it's not as good. If it's late in the season, they'd be like, "Oh, they knocked off number 3 team at Orgeron."
Yeah, I'm curious to see what Stanford does because their offense was not. They couldn't run the ball last year, and now you don't have Bryce Love, you don't have J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. I mean, is it going to be like KJ Costello throwing to Colby Parkinson every time? I don't know. The offensive line is kind of a met. But whenever you think Stanford's like, oh, they're not going to be that good, they're always like the best. So we'll see what happens with Stanford.
There was your Stanford Minute by Ryan Abraham.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
No, you're
That's my Pac-12 podcast talk coming in.
It's true. Full Count on YouTube says, is there actually going to be a spring game this year?
Spring
No.
Showcase, April 6th.
I don't see how you can do it with the number of DBs they have.
Yeah.
I don't think it's possible.
It'll just be a practice that's going to be fun to watch for some reason.
They could have some scrimmage periods where you go, ones against ones. That'd be great. That'd be
Yeah.
different than what they've necessarily done in the past. But I just don't think they have enough bodies at specific positions to be able to have a full 2 deep and go red team versus gold team.
Agreed.
Yeah.
We're reaching the top of the hour. If you want to get your rapid fire questions in, we will answer those. Also, if we want a last minute phone call,
Yeah, what happened to Jasper? Why aren't you calling back in?
yeah,
here,
I
buddy?
think Jasper chickened out maybe.
That's nice.
Putting him on the spot.
So we put the new system. So when we had the old system where you could only call one at a time, the people couldn't get through, and then we put now we have a system where you can get more people in, and they're like, okay, that's not as it's not as exciting.
It's the pre-spring game.
Yeah.
Low keyness, maybe.
There's kind of a
during
low keyness on the message boards and everything right now. I get
the
people.
lull. It's the off-season lull. Let
Yeah.
them enjoy it.
I don't know. YouTube's got plenty of questions, guys. So I don't know what y'all are lolling
Yeah.
about.
If you're on YouTube, why don't you just pick up that thing? That thing you have isn't just for like checking, text message and stuff. You can actually make phone calls with that. And you can talk to
what?
us.
Well, they're on their computer. We want to do Skype in.
We can
Skype
do that.
call.
We're gonna
Wi-Fi call.
We're gonna play with that too.
A couple of questions here from LDR. Will College Game Day come to SC this year?
No.
USC Oregon is the potential
If
one.
they're the hot new thing with Graham Harrell, then sure. It's all about the story. It's
No,
all
no.
about the
You
rating.
gotta win.
They got to win.
Well, yeah, that's what I meant. That hot new thing. That's what that implies.
Well, he's a hot new thing right now.
Okay, sorry. I'll be more specific. But
I-
they could warp that into they're doing so well with Graham Harrell. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, I mean the beginning part of the schedule is great. Like there's really tough teams, 6 in a row or whatever. If you win the first couple, then yeah, maybe I think there's a potential for that. But it's not an easy schedule. You could easily slip up a couple of times. Then you're probably not going to be getting a sniff from game day. So, but you got to go on some kind of run early. Then there's a good chance.
I think it could happen. I think that Oregon game, if USC's playing well, that Oregon game could be one.
Yeah.
If they're 6-2 or 7-1.
Also, it's so contextual too. What's happening around the
Right.
rest of
Yeah.
the nation?
Is North Dakota
Games.
State? Do they want to go up there for a game? Whatever. Maybe.
Yeah.
LER also asked, will SC make the playoffs this year? I'm going to go ahead and say no.
Yep.
Negative.
And no from me, dog.
Yeah.
All right, Randy.
I mean, I think Graham Harrell's going to fix a lot of it's going to fix a lot of problems, but it's not fixing. There's still a lot more problems there that weren't addressed. That in that Lynn Swann speech, all those things weren't addressed. A big one was how bad the offense was compared to the talent they have. That's going to be alleviated. I think that's going to be fixed, but that doesn't fix a lot of the other things. Now, maybe changing that and you make some other changes in practice, and they do hit more and they're more physical and they're not as soft as Shotgun was calling them.
that would be
Instigator.
Arizona State.
Is there-
You're going to get somebody, like, you're going to have a coach just randomly, I'll turn this on. And then suddenly I'm going to get texts from coaches.
Yeah.
Don't start.
at Shotgun SPR if you want to tweet Shotgun for what he was saying. But no, I think there could be some residual effects from this good change. This was a really positive change, but there's still. I mean, I'm not going to assume all the problems that we saw last year are going to be fixed. I'm going to assume some of them are that we could see. nothing really that was done that would convince me that all those other problems are going to go away. Now, maybe some of it will, but as of right now, no. And that you need a lot of things to go right to make the playoff.
I have my own question for y'all.
Oh,
If you had to give a percentage, what percentage of spring practices, how much are they different? Like we see differences or changes.
good question. I think special teams is going to be about the same. So that's like a third of practice.
They didn't do a lot of special teams in spring last year.
That's true, but then they changed it in fall.
Yeah, they went back to what they were doing in fall. But in spring, it was like, okay, we're going to work on these specifics of ripping the ball out and different things like that.
Yeah.
And then we're not going to do the full team stuff.
So I guess it depends. Like, will the special teams be more like fall or spring? Last spring,
I think it'll be the same as spring. I think they're going to the focus on technique and fundamentals will be, instead of doing full on special team stuff, we're going to work on strip drills and we're going to work on chasing behind somebody and popping the ball up. Those type of things that they did last year again. And they'll say, well, that was the focus, us focusing on turnovers and penalties.
Okay, so if that'll be similar to last spring, that's probably.
They'll do the same thing and sell it as they were doing something different.
I think the defensive stuff will be pretty similar to what they did last spring. I think the offensive stuff is going to be different. So maybe like 45% different than what.
Wow.
Oh, I'm going with like 26.8.
I was saying 45.
26.8%. Got it. Nailed it.
Interesting.
Championship.
Wrong.
I'm
What do you say,
gonna.
Keely?
I think I'm gonna say like 15%,
What?
and all of that's gonna be from offensive stuff.
So
I believe.
15% different. Okay.
I mean, this
I think
is
that's if
non-scientific
that's
at all.
If that's real, if Keely, Twitter at Keely is my name. If that is real, then USC is going to have major problems because you can't implement a whole new offensive scheme and run the same kind of crap that you were running before. You have to run it.
You can
the
run
Graham
different
Harrell
plays
way.
and still have a same practice.
This is about this
They
isn't
will.
about thinking.
That's what
This
they
is-
do.
You really have to. It's not really about here's the play and we want to run it. Like that's what you were doing in practice. Like you can't do that anymore. This is more about a full offensive philosophy you're changing going forward, where you're not thinking about. It's not just we have to run this play and this play and this play. It's not going to be like that.
How many different drills do you think that we run? It's going to be pretty much the same drills. If we run different plays, there might be a couple different air raid style drills, but it's basically going to be the same thing.
I think that's a big issue if it is. I think a lot of stuff has got to change in practice from
Yeah, you also think that culture, players, coaches, all that stuff has to change, and how much changed?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll watch. So that another thing, we'll watch Tuesday to see. Like, wow, that looks very different. They never done that before. It's already different that we're not going to talk to Clay Helton. So that's a little hint there that maybe more things are going to be changing. I don't know.
We will see. Good feuding, you two.
Thanks.
Nice job.
Maybe I can be a guest on your podcast one day.
Maybe you do
Probably
when you drop things in the studio. We have a caller on the line, I believe.
Oh, nice.
Chris and Glendora. Chris, are you there? Chris, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, Chris.
I am here.
Is that
Hey, how's everybody doing?
good, Chris? Is that Glendora, Canada? Where are you from? Where is that? I'm just kidding.
No. Glendora, California, right by
I-
Azusa.
Yeah, it's way up
Oh,
there.
okay.
Way up there at some place I never end up going, but we should go.
Right.
I love the show. I tune into every single show. I love you guys. You guys give the perfect 411 about USC football. But lately,
Chris.
I've been super sad. So I've just been watching old Reggie Bush highlights to get through this terrible season that the Trojans are going through.
That's one
So
way
I
to do
wanted
it.
to know. So I wanted to know: is USC ever going to get, or is there like in the recruiting room right now? Is there a running back that you foresee being like a Heisman type running back for USC in the future?
I think the closest thing you have right now. Thanks, Chris, for the call. I think Stephen Carr. It was a 5-star guy coming in. I mean, he was as explosive and catching the ball out of the backfield. I think he was probably as close as we've seen to that for a while. I think there were some. Ronald Jones kind of flashes. I mean, you've seen some guys that have flashes, but Reggie Bush was just he was a unicorn. You're not going to see anything like that anymore. I'm not sure. I haven't really looked at the 2020 class. Are there some 5-star running backs?
I mean, he
USC's
was
on?
a generational talent.
Yeah.
I mean, he was the best player in the aughts
Yeah.
or whatever decade that is, for sure. So it's hard to say that anyone is ever going to be like that. Now, can USC have another All-American running back, or Heisman is a tall order, especially for running backs nowadays. There's been maybe, I think it's something like 5 non-quarterbacks in the last 25 years win the Heisman. It's very rare. Now, those are running backs usually. But it's just that rare for a running back or anyone else that's not a quarterback to win the Heisman. So it's tough to say that a Heisman. But an All-American, that's possible. Stephen Carr, coming out of high school, has that skill set. If he's properly used, because you can use him, you can line him up a receiver. He's that good.
Yeah.
You can run routes and do different things. Looking at the upcoming class, a guy like Kendall Milton, who's the top running back in the country from Fresno. Fresno.
He's like Clovis West or something, I think.
Up in the Fresno area, yeah. So he's the number 1 running back in the country. I've not seen him personally in action, so I can't say who he compares to or anything like that. Sam Adams, son of an offensive lineman up from Washington. He has a USC offer. Saw him this past week out in the Vegas tournament playing for FSP, who won the thing. He was playing wide receiver too. He was one of the better wide receivers. He's like 6'2". The question is, I haven't seen him play running back, but he was really good as a receiver. So that's another guy who has a dynamic skill set. That's what you need. You need to do something different to be able to win a Heisman, because teams aren't going to run the ball, carry the ball 30 times.
Yeah.
Like even when Leonard Fournette was at LSU, he didn't carry the ball 30 times, and Leonard Fournette was probably the best running back in the past 8 years or so. So you're going to only get a certain amount of carries, but if you can catch the ball in the backfield, now you get 10 or 15 carries, and you get 5 to 10 touches out of the backfield, or returning kicks or returning punts. That's what it takes to be a Heisman Trophy winner as a running back nowadays.
Yeah, I think with Carr in this offense, he could be special because of he can catch a whole bunch of balls. Like he could run the ball really well and then catch you'll see that kind of a dynamic, versatile playmaker, and maybe he gets if he excels, he could get an invite to New York or something, and USC's got to win too. But
Indeed.
But he's got potential. He's a 5-star dude, and he's got a lot of talent.
Well, thanks, Chris, for the call.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
I mean, it's 7:07. We kind of are trailing off on questions unless we want to get rapid fire in. Not too many. Anything else, Shotgun? You look like you have some.
I got a rapid fire.
Go for it, Shotty.
I got a Brian one real quick on Periscope. How different do you expect the defense to look compared to last year? Foresee any changes? That's from Brian on Periscope.
I think you're going to see a similar type of defense. I think that maybe you play a little bit more coverage because you don't trust your DBs to be in man-to-man coverage as much as you did last year with Imam Marshall or Isaiah Langley or Janae Harris. All those guys are veterans. Those are gone. You have Marvell Tell over the top if you want to play one high. Now I think that you'll sit back a little bit more. The linebackers will drop. Maybe you don't blitz as much. You don't attack as much. I think you have to sit back a little bit until you have faith in those DBs that, we can put them out there on the island and they're not going to make us look bad.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks for that, Brian.
That's a succinct answer.
Yeah.
We're
Calix
rapid
Rose he says, question, is there a mathematical way to know when to sub younger players? And since we have an engineering degree here, mathematical way.
He said,
no, I think you could put players on pitch counts and things like that. I think you could do, different where, hey, we're going to run this. It might be by series, so plays could change. Where I want to get this linebacker in with this group and things like that. I don't think there'd be anything. No, I've never heard of anything that's like mathematical. Where you're like, okay, you've hit 78.2 on the play scale. That means you have to come out of the game or something. Like I don't think there's anything like that. They do have
the trackers,
the tracker things, but that's mostly for practice.
I don't think you're allowed to wear them during a game.
No, I don't think. I don't.
I think the NCAA has some stipulation on
that's mostly for practice, but I mean I think that's more like it's more of an art, I think, where you have to feel what's going on as opposed to I don't know. I mean, like for a pitcher, you can count pitches. Like there's an actual pitch count. You go, okay, 75 pitches, like he's coming out. But I mean, you could do number of plays, but every play is different. But I think it's more of a feel. It's usually by series. Like if a guy's going to go for 10 plays and they're getting down near the goal line, like you're swapping them out for a different reason, not because he ran his 10 plays. There's a lot of situational things that happen with that. So there could be one. I haven't not heard of that, of some mathematical formula where there's some guy with the charts like, oh nope, Pellier's got to come out now because of whatever.
It's usually something where they're watching the player. You can see his mannerisms. They can tell a guy is tired or not to try to sub someone in. And there's certain
old fashioned.
Yeah.
That's the player. Well, the player, calling out, tapping on their helmet, but looking at a player and telling that they, you need to get someone in there. And it's tough with some positions like Marvell Tell would never leave the field. Cameron Smith would never leave the field.
Yep.
So are you going to sub those guys out when they're your best defenders? It's hard to say, well, we want to get Palier and Itiote in there, but he's backing up the guy that's been our most consistent defender for 4 years.
Yeah.
You know, it's a tough thing. And like you said, that's an art. You know, being able to get that 5 to 8 plays that I always want young guys to get per game versus, all right, I need my stars in there on defense at the same time.
Yeah, you want to get them on the field, and you want to get them on the good situation and with the right veterans around them. Like, I think that's more of a coach's kind of decision. Sometimes we saw substitutions happening. Like, why is that guy substituting in right now? It didn't really make a lot of sense.
At Washington State, why is Josh Follow's first career pass attempt coming on a fade at the end zone?
On a 4th down or something. Like, it was like
a bullet too.
There was like just weird stuff like that would happen. I think there's some defensive ones too where you're like, wait, why are they coming in? Like, you're coming in like at the worst possible time. I mean, yeah, so you want more substitution, but I think it's more coach's discretion and more like an art, more feel for what's going on in the
I
game.
have a Facebook question.
That was not a very good rapid fire answer. Right?
So,
No, yeah. Facebook question from Daniel. He says over under 42 points a game next year.
Under. That's
That's
a lot of points.
so you're talking like 26 points per game last year, 2018. So you want to go up to
They had 26 last year? That's surprising.
do you think I think it was 26.
That's surprising they had that many. But 42 is a lot because you're
That's
going
a
to
lot
have
of
games
points.
where you score 24 or 28. So you
Right.
got to make up with that by scoring 65 in other games.
Yeah, I'm going to say under 42, but I would say over 32. I think it's probably going to be closer to 34,
Yeah.
35.
That was my thought, 35. I would say that the window is 32, 36. I think that's a pretty even window that you could go bet over under. And
Yeah, which is significant. I mean, you're talking about 10 points per game. Like,
huge.
that's significant. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
but
believe it's 26.
I still can't believe they scored 26 a game.
I don't remember. I'm old. My brain's old, but I think that's what it was.
We have a question on YouTube. Sorry, Shotgun. John says, does Harrell really play at a fast tempo or does he slow it down from time to time?
I have not been able to watch a North Texas full game yet, so I'm not.
Yeah, I think there's some tempo and stuff to it, but it's not like that's not the signature of his offense. So I think you can do a lot of things with it, but I don't think it's like foot on the gas all the time, just tempo.
Mike Allen asks, with all the talent on the D-line linebacker position, do you ever see CP, Clancy Pendergast, using a more traditional 3-4 base when the offensive formation permits, i.e. 3 wide receiver sets or less? The problem is not many of those in the Pac-12. Pac-12 is pretty wide open as far as offenses outside of Stanford. Stanford, instead of 3-4s, you just see more defensive linemen. It's usually USC using their base or even extra defensive linemen, so you have 3 or 4 down linemen plus the outside linebackers. USC actually did use some 3-4 last year. That Washington State game, when Palier and Itiote was in there on the outside spot, he was being used more as a 3-4 lineman, outside linebacker, rather than being that predator at the in the line like Porter Gustin was, or the Sam on the other side. So you've seen them use those looks a little bit, not a ton, but a little bit, with guys like with Christian Rector putting his hand down and having outside linebackers on the outside of him. So it's pretty rare, and I don't think you're going to see it that much because of how prevalent the spread offense is in the Pac-12 and the fact that USC wants to have their nickel out there and extra DBs. Clancy has told me before he would rather have speed out on the field.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more this spring you see it because they don't have defensive backs this spring. There's only 5, I think, total. But yeah, I agree with what the Shotgun said. But you might see more of the spring just because of the lack of bodies.
Ryan T. Young. Ryant, I guess. Right. Anyways, biggest surprise on the D-line?
Biggest surprise. I think what Shotgun was saying, thinking Christian Rector is going to have a big breakout. I feel like he's been, there was injuries. It was like good for spots and then not as productive. I kind of think he's going to come in and play really well. I think he might be someone that's like, oh, look at all this production from a guy that maybe we didn't see it like on a consistent basis. I think you're going to see some consistent production from him this year. What do you think?
If I'm going for a biggest surprise, I'm going with Liam Jimmons.
Ooh,
Okay.
Interesting.
He was really good at affecting pressure when he was in the game last year, per the PFF numbers and stuff. His pass rush attempts, with getting pressure on the quarterback, he's pretty good. So I think maybe he gets some more opportunities there and can get in the backfield and cause some havoc.
Nice.
I'm curious what Trevor Trout, what he does if he becomes that rock in the middle. I'm also curious about Jake Lichtenstein. I feel like he had a pretty productive end of the season getting his shot. Just wondering how that all develops.
Yeah, I mean, Trevor Trout, I mean, you look at him, and I think you could see athleticism there and stuff. I think he needed to change his body a little bit coming in. But yeah, I mean, that would be, if you get production from him, that would be a huge bonus.
Yeah. I want him to become like a Stevie Tuikolovatu, a guy that just is a plug in the middle of the defense so that he can have the nickname Stout Trout.
I like that.
Ooh, that's good. Like it.
Will The Truth Hurts asks, will the new air raid offense take advantage of Michael Pittman Jr.? If Graham Harrell says that he wants matchups and he wants to attack teams with his matchups and get mismatches, yeah.
I think Michael Pittman's not going to know what to do when he's like not, getting having to catch balls in double coverage all the time. Like this is an offense that should scheme the wide receivers open. So, what's weird when Tyler Vaughns or Michael Pittman or Amon-Ra St. Brown are just like open and JT Daniels can throw him the ball as opposed to throwing it up into a crowd and hoping that they make some ridiculous play.
Yeah, that would probably help. Full count fantasy baseball. Who does punt returns, Velus or Vaughns? I think Vaughn stays there. He was consistent last year for you. He saved you those extra yards and the balls that bounced away. And Velus never did. He's not really a punt returner. I don't. He does better when he has a little space in front of him. He can get going with his speed rather than making a guy miss and quick acceleration. He's more of a top end speed guy rather than accelerator.
Little shout out to Ryan Hector in Georgetown, Texas. He just said hello on the Periscope.
Oh,
so,
hello,
hey, Ryan.
hello. Facebook question from John. He says, what do you guys make of a new on-campus recruiting coordinator, Kelsey Winkle? Does it mean anything?
Can't hurt.
Yeah, you need. So Alex Rios left after the UNLV game last year and was not replaced until a few weeks ago. So it's definitely been a trend. I think we talked about this on maybe the Dan Weber podcast.
Yes.
Didn't realize like this is I thought, oh yeah, USC's like getting ahead of this trend. Not really. Like this has been a big trend outside of USC hasn't really. I think USC wanted to bring in a female presence, a woman into a role like that, but it's been something we've seen at a lot of other schools like UCLA, and Colorado State's been a program that's kind of developed or whatever, like people that moved on to other programs from Colorado State. So. It's definitely been a trend across the country, but they needed more people involved in this to be, real support people, because sometimes like a Gavin Morris can't be a support person because he's got to be on the road recruiting because of the deficiencies that USC had on the coaching staff. So I think filling up that support room is an important step. And she seems like, she's got some experience and, she doesn't know the fight song, so she meets all my criteria.
I said it can't hurt. However, it could also be huge because if someone can fill the role that Austin Thomas was supposed to have. When Austin Thomas came in for his, 2-week span or whatever it was, 2 months, I think it actually was.
Peace out.
And he went right back to LSU. They need someone that is the organizer there that says, hey, who did you talk to today? Okay, let me write that down. Let me put this in the spreadsheet. Okay, we didn't know that, all right, in 2 weeks, we need to follow up with that person. We need to send this person a mailing. You hear of recruits that want to come to USC, and like sometimes I recruit myself hard. I recruit USC harder than they're recruiting me. For big time prospects, you need someone on top of the organization skills have not been there.
Yeah.
And part of that is you have so few people and you're asking them to do so much. You need someone that comes in and they're supposed to be the organizer. And I think that the title there tells me that's supposed to be the person to do that.
Right.
That was kind of what, I can't remember what exactly Austin Thomas's title was, but it sounded like, hey, that's the guy that's going to, all recruiting stuff goes through him.
Yeah.
Oh, you talked to that guy last night? Let me put it down. We need to see who we need to talk to so we can be consistent in our message and everything, where I feel like sometimes it's throwing darts, or throwing paint at the wall and seeing what turns up there. Oh, that looks pretty. Let's go with that. Let's capture that part and go with it. It just seems like they're not in a consistent communication with each other to be able to produce that.
I think with Alex Rios, when he was around, if you would come, we would come into the Coliseum and, through the press entrance, and you would see there's like this little table where the recruits would go. He was always there, like greeting people and stuff like it. He was gone most of the year. So one of those people that's on campus that's organized all those things wasn't there anymore. So I think she's going to take over that kind of role. It's just these important things that you kind of need. I think Trey Johnson coming in is helpful because he's coming from the SEC and he knows, sees what they were doing there. So he can see where some of the deficiencies are. I think sometimes at USC, people just like, yeah, you can get by doing that, so it's okay. But you come from another program like, oh my God, we had 10 people doing that. You guys don't have any, something like that. So I think it's a step in the right direction, but it's not, it's not the big fix. They need to hire more people.
I think it could be huge. I mean, more people is definitely helpful, but having the organization first is huge.
Yeah. Filling in the person that left last year that you never replaced, that's important.
That always helps.
Jasper, I know we ask this every week, but any new rumblings on transfer portal possibilities? No, not really.
Nothing.
Pretty much the same stuff.
Yeah.
And then Ed asks, is the tackle from Georgia Tech still an option? Parker Braun has not committed anywhere, so yes, he is still an option. He's probably the best grad transfer on the market. Tony asks, will we win the South this year?
I'm going between USC and Utah.
Yeah, I feel like that's it every year, though.
No, well, Utah, that's the first time they won it last year. So,
and Arizona was supposed to be good.
Yeah, Arizona was not. I mean,
Colorado
the South is
too.
kind of a mess, but because USC still could have won the South and they were awful. So I think with a competent offense, I think they can win the South again. Utah's just usually really good on defense and special teams, and the offense can be all over the place. And it sort of was last year when they lost Moss and they lost the quarterback and all that stuff. So Huntley, later in the season. But I think the Graham Harrell thing can push USC over the top and potentially win the South again.
DJ Love, do you see any more transfers? Since I didn't get this one with all the transfer questions. Transferring out, no. You won't see any transfers at this point unless something strange happens, which could happen at USC.
Didn't Hunter Eccles put something out there on his Instagram or something, or what was? Did you see that?
I missed that.
Hunter, yeah, there was some. I think it was a tweet that it was on Twitter, a tweet that he deleted. So it was kind of strange. There's a thread on their board. Yeah, like 2 days ago or something. Yeah, it was kind of weird.
No, the next wave of transfers would likely be after spring practice.
I
You
would
kind of
think so,
see
yeah.
where you are on the depth chart, and you're like, well, I think I should be higher. They're not seeing me there, so that's when you see other ones. Anthony, hey Keely, if the game's on the line, which side would you hang your hat on the defense or the offense?
Well, see, but context matters. Like, is the defense stopping the?
Let's just go with Fresno State game.
Oh.
Or are you talking about like a situation at the end of the game where
Yeah, at the
you
end of
got
the
to
game.
What's the
score?
context? Is the
At
defense
the
exhausted
end of the Fresno State game?
Is the defense exhausted at this point?
Would you rather be down a score and need the offense to take over, or you need
Who's the quarterback? I need
you're up by
context
2
here.
and you need the defense to get a stop?
I would say
I can only ask the question that was asked.
specific questions.
I tried
we will
to give
get
you some
specific
extra
answers.
stuff.
I would say defense right now,
Really?
based on last year's offense. But if I have faith in Graham Harrell, I'm going to say offense.
Yeah.
Way to
So,
not give an answer.
A non-answer for you.
Who will
guys.
have more fans of the game, Fresno or USC? USC will still have more fans.
Yeah, but Fresno will bring in like 20,000. No, we get some stuff like this. This is from Frisco State. Does nothing, same staff is there besides the O coordinator who left North freaking Texas. Give me a break. It's not really a coherent sentence, but I think what he's trying to say is this guy's from North Texas, so he can't be that good. I mean, yes, he coached at North Texas. They gave up a crap load of points to, or whatever. They with the bowl game, they lost pretty badly and stuff, but they've won a bunch of games at North Texas. There's a reason why Seth Luttrell is a lot of people were trying to hire him away. There's a reason that a lot of people were trying to hire Graham Harrell away. It's not the perfect situation. He's only been a full-time assistant coach for 4 years. 1 as a wide receivers coach and 3 as an offensive coordinator. So I get all that, but just I feel like it's going to be a lot better than what you've seen at USC. I think he's a star on the rise. I could completely be wrong, but yeah, he was at North Texas, but I think he was a really good coach at North Texas. Urban Meyer was at Bowling Green, right, or something like that. Like you're going to say, oh, you hired the Bowling Green coach. Well, yeah, Utah did, and he freaking won all his games. So, and then he went on to Florida and won a national championship, went on to Ohio State and won a national championship. So I'm not, just because he was at North Texas doesn't mean, I don't think that means much of anything. He moved there from the Pac-12 because he wanted to coach quarterbacks and run an offense.
Just because I want to clarify this because I don't want to have misinformation. Steven says, was it Greg Johnson who tweeted that? Are you sure it was Hunter Eccles?
No, I think it was, I believe it was Hunter Eccles. I don't think it was
Okay.
Greg Johnson. Yeah.
Okay, just wanted to check.
There was some tweet that got deleted, but I don't think there's really anything. There's a thread on the Peristyle on USCFootball.com if you want to go check it out. They start talking about it like, hey, was it deleted and blah blah blah. So
We have a question from Jeff on Facebook who says, with less scholarships next year and in need of DBs, what are other positions of need? Also, how many scholarships do we have for next year?
I mean, right now the number is really low. It's like 8.
Yeah, there's only like 8 seniors, but there's going to be more attrition. Yeah. Like Shotgun said, there's going to be attrition between now and the fall, most likely, and then during the season there always is. So I think that's going to come around. But yeah, they the hiring, firing, signing. It's been a long day. It's been a long show too. Signing 26 guys, and there's a potential for another 1 or 2 to come in. Yeah, I mean you've filled things up, and with not a lot of guys leaving the program next year, there's gonna be some limitations. I think DB is certainly going to be one of the areas. Offensive line is one of the areas they got to recruit really well, especially tackles. I don't know what else do you think they're going to have to go after?
Wide receivers.
Yeah, you got to get more wide receivers, which is weird because it's not usually a thing.
But it is this year.
Yeah.
So there's going to be some positions they have to. Try to go through a couple questions real quick.
Alrighty.
One that Tyrone asked, which I think should be interesting for you, Ryan. Tyrone asked, he said, I'm 26. What are the chances of SC winning a natty before I get old and turn 30?
That's old. Damn. Millennial. You're like not that much older than Keely, which is weird.
It's true. I'll be 24 next month.
Man, we're going to have a big party or something. Gluten-free cupcakes.
It's on a Wednesday, so if we're still doing television on Wednesdays, party time.
Woo, that'd be good.
You gonna answer this question? Or not?
I don't think
you're so distracted by the.
I don't think in the next. I wouldn't. No, I don't think in the next 4 years. There's potential. Like basically, I mean, Clay Helton has to completely turn things around, or Clay Helton gets fired and they bring in if they bring in Urban Meyer or something, then okay, I'll go. Yes, but I wouldn't bank on USC winning a national championship in the next 4 years. They got to get a lot of stuff right. Starts with getting a new president in, changing some stuff that they're doing in the athletic department that desperately needs to be changed, and doing things differently on the football team too.
Thoughts on the D line? Oh, we already answered that pretty much. Do you see Abdul Malik McClain getting playing time? Any playing time? That's a strange sentence. Yeah, I think so. I think he got in there at the very end of the season and got some opportunities to rush the passer in those third and long situations. I think it could happen again.
Yeah, we should see him a lot this spring too.
Jared, should USC add some throwback uniforms to get the players hype into the game?
If you need that to get hyped in the game, then you're doing something wrong.
People love throwbacks. There's nothing wrong with throwbacks. Everyone talks about how USC has had the same uniforms forever, but they haven't. If you look, the uniforms have changed like 17 times.
Yeah. I'm just saying, if that's what you need to get hyped, then you probably need something else.
Players get hyped over new gear all the time. It's new gear. It's free stuff. That's what it is. It's free gear.
They get all kinds of gear.
Who doesn't get hyped over free stuff?
You wear that.
Everyone likes free stuff.
You wear the thing for 3 hours. Like I don't,
You get new undershirts with it. You get new cleats to go along with it.
They can do all that shit at practice. Oh, sorry, my swear.
Right.
My show.
Don't be an old fart.
Get off my lawn. Get out of the way, you clown.
Bring some throwbacks. Yes. Are we going to see more Connor Murphy?
No.
Question mark?
We haven't seen any Connor Murphy, so how much more?
More would be any.
Should if Helton asked, would shotgun play some wideout? The answer is no, because I have no eligibility left. On the whole, the Coliseum renovation is not very impressive. Do you expect any rave reviews, Ryan? You've seen it more than I have.
I mean, I think the seats and stuff, there's stuff that's good, It's just the big thing is what I don't like. I think we'll like it because we're going to be like in the press box and it's going to be fancy spancy. If you're in one of those $7.5 million suites that apparently they sold all of them except one, I think you're going to love it. But I think the experience in the rest of the stadium isn't going to be as good. I think it might deaden some of the sound. So I don't know, but I think the seats it's going to be better. They're more comfortable seats. You got more leg room. There's going to be more aisles. So I think that experience is going to be better, but it'll feel different. Only 77,000, seats total.
The press box isn't going to be suddenly recliner chairs and something. It's going to be the same working environment.
We're going to be walking up marble staircases and stuff.
It'll look nice on the way in the press box. Press box will be the same.
They can't give us boxed lunches in that kind of a fancy press box.
Now, if they get a chocolate fountain. I'll say it's the greatest.
Stanford does it right. They got homemade cookies. They got all kinds of
Oregon
great
was
food.
good too. Oregon had a whole Thanksgiving feast.
I think we should probably wrap it up.
I'm taking back the show now as host. I have a couple questions for you guys as a spring, very quick pre-spring. Getting your thoughts because we can't do this once spring starts. First off, who is your MVP of spring? There's always guys who are the spring stars. It doesn't necessarily translate to fall, but they have their moment in spring. Who do you think, either offense, defense, both, is going to have their moment in spring?
Graham Harrell.
I knew you had a little answer.
Yeah, I mean,
Player.
I would probably say
Player.
him.
I already said it. Too late. You got to choose
I would go
something else.
Stephen Carr on offense. I think he's going to just come out and just be like all over the place.
The one for defense I would give was Solomon Tuliapupu, just because people haven't seen him, and I think he's going to impress.
Defensively, I'll go. I think I'm going to do like a Jay Tufele. Just he's going to come out and be. I've been kind of riding him from the beginning, right? So I think he's going to emerge as like the super stud.
You kind of bled into my next question. Who's the underrated guy who's going to make a name for himself this spring? Who's your next Tyler Vaughns, Ryan? Really feel it.
I think I had someone before. Who did I say? Crap. Didn't I?
I'm going to go with Austin Jackson. I got a lot of
Austin
confidence that he's
Jackson.
going to have a big year this year.
Nice.
AVT, Elijah Vera Tucker. I think this is his the door's open for him right now.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel like I had somebody, and now I'm going to change it, and then I'm screwing myself because I forget. Who was my dude? I forgot. Didn't we talk about that?
Talanoa Hufanga.
Yeah, but he's coming back from
He's
injury.
healthy.
Just feel your
It's
gut,
a broken
Ryan.
collarbone. I
Yeah,
had two of those.
I think it was
It's fine.
Hufanga. But I thought
That's
there was.
such an easy pick, though.
But I thought there was somebody else that I had mentioned. Now I forget. Because
If anyone
my
remembers,
old brain.
drop it in the
Everyone
comments.
remembers Ryan's thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone tell me.
Did you say it on the show, or did you think?
Yeah, I
about
think I
it?
did on the show.
Oh,
like I talked
well,
about.
we'll
Yeah.
see. This
Yeah.
is just so you can retroactively be like, yeah, I totally called that one.
No, but there's someone I mentioned. Now I can't think of it. And whatever. It's a long day.
It's a long day.
It's 5:30 in the morning to ride a stupid bike.
Wah.
Okay.
Wah,
You're talking about football,
Wah.
Ryan. Life's good.
wah.
Yeah, that's true.
Alrighty. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up today?
Full Count asked if this is a Nickelodeon logo. It is indeed. This is a Rugrats hat for the millennials and a little bit
Millennials.
older than the millennials. Millennials.
Nice. Yeah, people always comment on Shotgun's hat.
Yeah, it's people. Just everyone needs to take a deep breath. It's okay.
What?
that
It's a
he has
Nickelodeon logo. It's dope.
that.
A
So,
Rugrats hat.
Alrighty.
And yes, it does kind of look like a Jackson Pollock.
oh, true. Alrighty. That's going to wrap it up. We went extra long today. Ryan, will we be back on Wednesday?
We'll be back on Wednesday. Yeah. I don't think
Okay.
Shotgun will be back.
You
on
can
Wednesday.
Skype me in if you need.
We could try to do that. We're going to play with that. Yeah, we'll be back. The call system seems to work, so we'll
It
just get
does?
some calls, and so it'll be after day one of spring football, so it should be pretty interesting. I'm speaking like down at a Trojan event in Vista, California tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon, and then I'm up in Pasadena tomorrow evening. There's a lot of Trojan talk starting to happen,
It's starting.
getting things going. So we'll have one day of spring ball, and then we'll have tunnel vision to kind of dissect everything and talk about it.
That'll be fun.
And you know about spring. Hope springs eternal.
It certainly does. But we'll try to
does indeed.
Skype Shotgun in, and maybe we'll get a special guest for next week. But the plan is to go, keep going on Wednesdays because we got practice on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
And yep. Alrighty. That's going to wrap it up. I'm excited. We have some football to talk about soon.
Yay!
It'll be fun. But thanks everyone for watching and calling in. Like Ryan said, we'll be back on Wednesday, so make sure you stay tuned for that 6 p.m. Pacific time. Forget that we're national now, which is exciting. Alrighty, for Shotgun and Ryan, I'm Keely. We'll see you guys next week.
See ya.
Bye.